everybody wants to hear from. If you believe David Fogarty's Instagram story, and if you believe everything Dillon Danis has been saying, Bellator's highest paid fighter. Are we going with this, Dillon? Here is this fact? Are you ready to be challenged on this by Bellator?
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, no one has came out and said otherwise, really. I mean, so I'm the highest paid in my mind.
So you're just waiting for someone to say, like, no, this is okay.
Exactly.
I'm ready.
I mean, no one has said anything to me. No one said anything in interviews like to dispute it. So I am the highest paid.
Before we get into like telling your story. As such, there was a story very recently between yourself and Kevin Lee, a grappling match for $100,000. It seemed like you were both interested in it, but then was there some sort of stipulation that strikes were wanted, and that was an after the fact thing? You thought it was just going to be a straight grappling match? Yeah,
I mean, he was the one that said that he beat me in a straight grappling match or a roll, and that rubbed me the wrong way anyway, because I come from being a martial artist since I was a kid, and that's above everything. And you don't talk about training. Now, that's just something that is known in the gym and known in the culture that you just, training's training. That's what happens in training stays in training, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I never had any beef with him. I never had anything to say about him. We trained once or twice, big deal. We were cool, and then that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because, you should keep that to yourself. And then I didn't mind doing a 100K match for no time limit, because I come from every day. We do unlimited rounds, basically 2-3 hours, 10x10s with the best black belts in the world. The guys world champions at every belt. So it didn't really, that didn't faze me. Once he said that, I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Like, that doesn't, what I mean? For me, that's nothing. And then he did an interview saying that he needed strikes involved with it because I was going to attack his legs. But then that just shows that you're lying, because you already just said that, you beat me in a roll. So now you're just saying it has to be MMA. And he knows that the UFC wouldn't sanction that, or they wouldn't allow that to happen, because that becomes an MMA fight. And then he was saying he reached out to my manager and all this stuff. So then I got a text from, I'm not going to say a name, but he was starting a new promotion. And he said, okay, $50K to the winner. You guys don't have to put up your money. I said, oh, did you talk to him about that? He was like, oh, I just texted him. He hasn't answered, though. I was like, okay. So then I waited, and then he said, I'm focused on MMA. I do not want to do a grappling match. And he wouldn't have had to even put up any of his own money. So then after that, I said, fuck it, I'm just going to, whatever it is, he doesn't want to do it. I'm focusing on Connor's fight now, I'm here for him, we're training together, so I want to focus on that. I'm not going to deal with all that bullshit anymore, I gave him the chance to do it, and he didn't do it, and now I'm over it. Now I'm focusing on Connor's fight. You
could describe your introduction to mixed martial arts as like a trial by fire, because you moved to SBG, you could have stayed in New York, you could have stayed in somewhere that offered mixed martial arts classes, but you took the possibly the hardest route. Like, you're talking about bare knuckle fights on Instagram. I can see the marks on your face.
So I was always thrown into the deep end. So when I was a kid, I got really good kind of fast, like, or not too fast, but I got good, and I was a young guy, and the training, they weren't looking for the same mindset. I wanted to be a world champion. They were looking to be hobbyist or something like that. And it got to the point where no one really wanted to roll with me, because I got really good. And then if they trained with me, they were just kind of like hold back, and they were kind of just try to stall, and then it wasn't fun for me, and I didn't like that, because jiu-jitsu was always fun for me. And I started going to the MMA classes and just doing jiu-jitsu with the pro fighters, and going with the MMA team, and even we used to do just wrestling on the feet and on the ground with punches. So that's how I kind of just got used to it, and then I didn't end up going to SBG, and then it's just always been kind of like you said, trial by fire. And
in Ireland, by the way, because I know you're picking up in the language, we call that jits with hits.
Jits with hits.
Yeah, jits with hits, just so you're okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just punching on the ground. So I just always have, just got myself into it, and I feel like that's the easiest way to do it. Just put yourself in there. It doesn't matter what happens, just keep your head on straight, because I see a lot of people, they go and they do an MMA or even a jiu-jitsu class, and then 1 or 2 days, they're gone. So you just have to stick with it. That's all it is.
Do you think that within jiu-jitsu, a person just needs to get past the stage where they finally accept that I'm going to get better at this eventually, as long as I keep doing it?
That was one of the hardest things for me, to be honest.
I think it takes people a certain time to get to that position of understanding, of no ego in relation to what happens in jiu-jitsu. Like, it seems to be that once people pass that breakthrough, for me, that's the point where someone's going to get a black belt, or they'll stop before they get a black belt.
That was one of the hardest things for me, because when I started, I was very good at sports, but just like soccer and stuff like that. And then I started doing, MMA, and like I couldn't even do one push-up, and like I was very weak, and I was going against grown men. My gym did not have a kids program, so I was just going straight off into like going against grown men, and for at least a year or two I didn't tap anybody. I was getting beat up every day, and I remember the first day I kind of like actually got someone, and I was so happy, and I went and told one of the guys in the gym, and they're like, "Oh, you know, he let you do that." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, he's a grown man, and you're a kid. He let you do that." And I remember being so sad about it. I was like, "What the fuck, man?" And then I started getting older, you know, and just training more, and I remember the best feeling in the world was to tap the guys that used to beat me up all the time. You know, that was always the best kind of feeling. And
did it feel like it just happened overnight? Do you see the way you're talking about the 2 years of hardship?
No,
then was it just suddenly I was cashing out?
No, I didn't, because I remember the nights going home and crying in my room where I couldn't get a tap. I was getting beat up by guys, you know. So, and yeah, it wasn't fun. But then when I started getting good too with the pro fighters or anybody, they used to hold submissions on me, being 16, 17, being good, you know. It doesn't really go well with pro MMA fighters, so they used to try to hold submissions on me. And you can ask any of the old people at my gym, or they would tell you this is true stories. Like hit me, like hold arm bars and crank it. Like even if I tapped in guillotines, they would hold it, just because it was just, I don't know what it was, but I wouldn't hold a grudge against it because it made me who I am now. You know, that is really cool just to think back how a kid, like a 6 or 17, 18-year-old kid being sponsored by Short Roll from New Jersey, and it's just cool to look back at and appreciate some of the things that, you know, you struggle for along the way, because it makes everything just kind of sweeter, you know.
A friend of mine, and I can remember, I think it was Metamours. I think it was one of your first Metamours matches. They did a really good video of following you around training. And I said, look at that dickhead. Look at the amount of shy-year-olds in his bedroom that he's just throwing on the ground and has probably worn once and never worn again. And there was just something, he had said something about every day, all I want to do is just to be remembered as the greatest jiu-jitsu fighter ever. I get up and it's just you pick a gi up out of your room and you left. And it seemed like for a couple of years you were in literally a cycle or a repetition or a habit of literally jiu-jitsu, sleep, play Xbox, and then repeat.
Now, I learned that from Marcel, you know, not repetition, but being at the gym every day is very important. Being there for every session, it's just consistency that gets you to where you want to be. And I learned that from Marcel, and I think that's one of the biggest traits, or one of the best traits you can have, is consistency. That's the best way to get to where you want to go, is showing up every day and putting in the work at a consistent basis. So, yeah, I learned that from Marcel.
Do you consider yourself to be a bit of a freak athlete? Because I understand Dillon Danis does not have the best diet for a high-level martial artist.
I eat pizza every day and hamburgers and Coke, and and I could train and I compete fine. So I guess so. People do say that to me all the time, like, how do you do it? And I'm just like, it's just normal to me. I don't know. When I eat healthy, I feel like crap.
You feel crap. Your body doesn't know how to work on healthy food. Are you completely anti-vegetable? What vegetables does Dillon Danis eat?
Veggie chips. No, I don't know. I don't really eat vegetables, no. I think they're disgusting, unless you put like hot sauce on them.
Does that give you further belief in your ability that jiu-jitsu conquers all, or that's just like having something within you is more important than
I fucking train my ass off to be where I am now, so like I just think putting in the work doesn't matter what you eat or whatever. So I just, I don't know. Yeah, just work your ass off, I guess. Fuck the food, it doesn't really matter. No,
I found it fascinating because I seen you posted a picture as well. What can you tell us about Irish food? You love Chinese takeaways from Ireland. What, like,
Irish food? It's good. It's not New York, but it's good. You know. What else do I like from there? The Domino's is pretty good too. I don't know. I was eating a lot of Domino's there. Chinese food. The 2 or the 3-in-1. They were talking about the curry, the Chinese curry. Yeah, 4-in-1. I always said in my head, like, if you like a hamburger or something makes you lose a match, you probably didn't train right anyway. So that's how that should be.
Have you ever had like any sort of like numbness, any sort of like nerve damage?
Yeah, I do get that. But unlike other people that just kind of use that as an excuse not to train, I'm still on the mat every day.
What if it's a complex injury? What if you hurt a toe or something like that? What if it's like just the tiniest bit of your foot that's really sore when you try to put any sort of weight on it? Does Dillon Danis still keep training at that stage?
That's bullshit. Like you just kind of push through it, and that's what separates certain people from certain people. You just have to know your body, and you know sometimes your mind gives up before the body, like, you know. So actually, how would I say that? Like you could break your body, but you can't break your spirit.
Yeah.
And like that happened to me in Copa Podio. I broke my arm and I kept fighting. And like you could break my body, but you'll never break my spirit. That's how I always think. It's like a samurai mentality.
that event in particular was your big breakout in Jiu-Jitsu, because I remember then 2 days later you're posting pictures in the favela with your arm in a cast, and it just seemed to be like the trip, because I think you were a brown belt at the time, and you had a very good performance against, was it Davy Hamos?
Yeah, I was a black belt. Who was in there? I fought Diego Borges, Edwin Najmi, Patrick Riddell. Edwin Najmi.
Najmi was on a hot streak at the time.
Patrick Riddell too was a black belt world champion now. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, he got second 2 years in a row. So I mean, there's a lot of good guys. Leandro Lowe I fought, and that was one of my best tournaments. I really enjoyed that, and just something fighting with a broken arm puts some kind of.
Because there's those old stories in jiu-jitsu of Jacare and Hodger, of the arm being broken and
and that was my moment to do it, and Diego Borges fucking kind of fucked me there, because I went to slap his hand. I don't know why I went to slap his hand like to start, and then he took a shot and took me down, and I ended up losing the match. But I was winning with 8 seconds left, and that still plays in my head till this day, every night.
What is your final goal for grappling? What is the end plan? Because you hear guys all the time saying, I want to be known as the guy with the most black belt world championships.
We're all on the same path, and a lot of Americans are not, Americans are not really respected as much as the Brazilians in Jiu-Jitsu, but we're changing that. And I mean, that is one of my goals, to make a big impact on Jiu-Jitsu and bring it to the spotlight like a baseball or something like that. And I've been trying to do that. And there's guys that will hate on me, and then there's guys that will, be on my side, but that doesn't matter to me. I want to make my sport to the highest it could be, because it's my passion and my love. So as titles, obviously I want to win all the titles in Jiu-Jitsu, but now I'm kind of in MMA, so I want to be able to.
That could be the thing, though, because what you're talking there about bringing
Jiu-Jitsu. I seen like Keenan saying something the other day, saying like, oh, like he's not the best or something. And I was just like, well, let's see you take some punches and win a fight. It's not the same, So if your Jiu-Jitsu doesn't work in a fight, are you really the best? So I mean, there's a lot of arguments there. So these Jiu-Jitsu guys need to sit back and respect.
I think that people will be pulling their hair out thinking of the idea of getting into a competition Jiu-Jitsu versus mixed martial arts debate. But
that's all I'm saying. That there's nothing wrong with winning world championships, because that's what I've been doing for years in Jiu-Jitsu. But sit down and have some respect, kid, because you never got up and got into a cage and fought another man that's trying to take your head off in front of millions of people. So that's what I think. I think these Jiu-Jitsu guys should wash their mouth, because they never had the balls to do it. Or if they did, they weren't good at it and they quit. So. And
only for the fact maybe that his career is happening in Japan, Crone could have been the next guy doing that as well, because he's coming out clinching, pulling close guard, and just relying on his jiu-jitsu.
Recently, I've just been kind of just going with what's happening, just let it happen, and then everything will kind of fall into place, But I'm just being myself, doing, fighting and training, and just kind of letting everything kind of fall into place. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in these next few years. I'm only 25, just turned 25, and just getting started. So I feel like it's just the beginning. And Flow Grappling just told me I'm actually the highest followed Jiu-Jitsu guy in the world. So that's pretty cool. And it's just the beginning, As they say, I am the face of Jiu-Jitsu still. So.